Hello everyone and welcome to a book review. This one is for an ebook that I read and it is classified as horror. Now for me personally, I don't know, I didn't feel like it was a horror. I can see how some people might, but I didn't really see the horror. However, I still enjoyed this book. So I am talking about The Fire on Memory Lane, written by Felix Dimaro. So we have a couple of different POVs. You have Connor's point of view and Kevin's point of view. Connor is the main POV that we are following. Kevin is the, I think, little brother. He's the brother, but I think he's the little brother. So this was published in 2021 and it is a standalone. This is an adult book. There was, when I looked, there was no audiobook available. Now I am only looking for audiobooks via Audible and Everand. It used to be Scribd, I think is what it used to be called. I'm so used to Everand now. But yeah, so told in third person. Anyway, so yeah, those are the only two sources that I'm looking for audiobooks. So it very well might exist somewhere else, but those are the only two places that I personally am looking for. So this is, I really don't want to spoil anything. So what can I say? So Connor is now divorced. He is hearing an ad for a product that will help him relive a memory as often and whenever he likes, the good memories. So he's hearing these ads. It's happened in the car. It happens on his in his home. He hears this ad about this product that he can consume that will help him relive any memory, any good memory that he wants, whenever and how many times he wants to. He can relive it over and over and over. Now, with me reading this book, I think for me, I was reading that going, well, you can do that unless you suffer from like dementia or Alzheimer's. It might be more difficult, but usually you can. You just, sometimes you have to sit and think to quiet the negative memories and kind of tell them to shut up in your head. To really focus. I know it's difficult to focus on the good memories when the bad ones are right there and so prevalent and more recent. So, and that's the case with this guy. So it's easier said than done, and from an outside perspective position as well. So anyway, he's hearing these ads, decides to take part in this, and you see addiction play a part and how it's used as a way to escape reality to the point that it is detrimental in his life. So that's all I can say. This was less than 200 pages. I don't remember the exact number of pages. I want to say it was closer to 148 pages. I could be wrong, but definitely less than 200 pages. I want to say closer to the 150 mark. So content and trigger warnings. Big one is divorce, and it is a very recent divorce. You have loss of children. One loss is via death. One loss is due to the divorce, and you just kind of get separated from your family type of a situation. So you do have loss of children. You also have suicidal ideation and talk in this, and that is a big, big thing in this. So if you are not in a good place mentally, especially when it comes to talk of suicidal ideations and attempts and things like that, avoid this book. Alcoholism is another big thing. I would say addiction in general, especially where Connor uses the product to help him remember the stuff. He acts like he is addicted, and you see the addiction forming as the reader, and obviously someone that's in the throes of addiction may not realize that, and that's generally the case from what I have personally seen in people that I have known. So you have addiction, and sometimes people turn to certain vices to cope with their grief and their losses. You also have talk of sex addiction. So addiction is also a big thing in this. Alcoholism, sex, and escaping reality type of a thing. You also have an affair talked about in this and touched upon several times. The other content or trigger warning is there is talk of a mental hospital. I know that can be very bothersome to some people, as well. It would have really bothered me when I was really struggling mentally and was in and out of a mental hospital as well. So that would have been very hard for me to read. So I totally get it if you need to avoid books that talk about that. So that's pretty much it. So the characters, we have Connor. The other POV is Kevin, who is Connor's little brother. And you see how as the story progresses, Connor's POV lessens and Kevin's increases. So heavy with Connor's POV, the first, I would say, about half of the book, it's kind of equal within the middle or a little after the middle, and then it's mostly Kevin's POV towards the end. You have other characters. You have Cherry, who is Connor's daughter. You have Rebecca, or Bex, who is his ex-wife. She plays an important role in this. You have Harry, or Harold is his name, but he goes by Harry, who is the ex-wife's new husband. And you learn this within like the first chapter. And then you also have his son, River, who is talked about. But again, please remember, you do have loss of a children, one via death and one through life circumstances. So that's all I can say. I do have a quote written down here. It says, "Sometimes breaking things makes a broken life feel somehow more intact." I have felt that. I've thrown a glass on the glass cup on the floor of the garage because it was in such emotional turmoil that it was kind of a relief to see and hear it shatter. Really weird, and I've broken pens, and so yeah, I definitely related to that. So that's all I can say, especially with this being a short story and a horror. I really don't want to give stuff away, so. But again, suicide is a huge, huge thing in this, so please proceed with caution. Okay, now with all of that out of the way, I will say for this author, Felix, I am definitely going to be keeping an eye out on more works from this author. I do like how this was written, and this is something that I think if this were ever adapted into a movie or a TV, I don't know. I think if it was adapted to TV, it would have to be like an hour-long episode to cover the whole book at the very least, or there would have to be a lot of creative license taken, or whatever the phrase is, and a lot of stuff added to lengthen it over a couple of episodes if they do like a season of it, or just do one or two kind of like 45-minute to an hour episodes. But I think this would make a great movie. I really like this. I thought it was very well written. And I think this would make a great adaptation to screen. And if I remember right, Felix is from, is it Australia? Let me look that up while I've got you here. Now Goodreads has been acting real funky. Sometimes it just takes forever to load. Okay, the Fire on Memory Lane, Felix. Oh, okay, so Felix is it looks like is a Black author. Very nice looking, I will say that. Very handsome. Anyway, Felix, let's see, was born in Nigeria. He's the youngest of 5 children, and this is, according to Goodreads, oh, it is not Australia. I'm glad I looked this up. It is Canada. So he was born in Nigeria. He moved to Canada when he was 4 and was raised in Toronto, Ontario, in neighborhoods that were considered to be at risk. He learned hard lessons at a young age about things like discrimination, desperation, and death, but also about strength, survival, and passion. A graduate of the University of Toronto with a BA in psychology, his upbringing and interest in the human mind both factor into the stories that Dimaro writes. Stories that usually center around human monsters, which that is definitely the case here. Suicidal and addiction. Those are definitely human monsters. Theology and issues of morality. When he isn't trying to figure out the meaning of life and the fundamental nature of humankind, he is usually reading, running, falling down YouTube rabbit holes, or watching episodes of The Simpsons. He is the author of the horror anthology How to Make a Monster, The Loveliest Shade of Red, as well as the romantic horror novel Bug Spray, A Tale of Madness. Yes, that sounds familiar. I did get an e-copy of that, and so I am definitely looking forward to reading that at some point. He's got quite a few books listed here that I can see. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of the other works by Felix. Loved this book. Okay. Now, in case you're still on the fence, if you're like thinking, okay, I can handle the suicidal ideation and the talk of addiction and things like that, and the other content and trigger warnings, you're like, I can handle it. But if there's a particular word that comes up that may sway you one way or the other to say, yes, I'm okay with this book, or not for me, let me tell you what the word counts are. Now, please be aware these are estimates. I may have missed a couple of times that these came up, so these tallies might fall just a little short. So do be aware of that. And probably, 2 or 3 shorts. But anyway, the word fuck comes up 18 times. Oh, and you do have, I would say there is an explicit sexual scene in this book as well. Okay, so if you don't want any explicit sex talk, yeah. And there is blood, so you do have a little bit of body horror in this as well, especially, I would say, for male anatomy body horror. Okay, so if you want nothing about that, okay. Moving on, the word horror comes up 1 time. The word suicide itself comes up 4 times, but the talk does come up a lot. Son of a bitch comes up 1 time. Ass 4. The word God 3 times. And if I remember right, this is not in a religious sense. Damn 3 times. The phrase goddamn 4. Again, not in a religious sense. Asshole 2 times. Shit 4. Bullshit comes up twice. The name Jesus once. The name Christ twice. Again, I do not believe this was in a religious sense. I've got to figure out a way to mark it so that I know if it was done religiously or not. You have the word motherfucking once. Tit 5. Hump 3. Arousal or arouse twice, but again, it could be arousal or aroused. But either way, the base word arouse twice. Breast 4 times. Bone twice. Clusterfuck once. Bulge once. Thrust twice. Pumping once. Grind once. Hard once. Penis once. And semen once. So that is the Fire on Memory Lane. Please let me know, have you read this? What are your thoughts on this? If you have not read this but read other books by Felix, please let me know what book you read and whether or not you liked it. So yeah, let me know. Talk to me in the comment section below. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book, and I'll talk to you later.